Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name is Brendan, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about how I landed my first product design job without a degree or any job experience. For those of you that are new to my channel, for the past year and a quarter, I've been working at a SaaS company here in Los Angeles, and I've held two different sales roles. Since I essentially started, it's been my goal to find a way to break into the product design team, and I'm going to tell you how I did it and share some steps that are practical to hopefully help you do something similar, or at least inspire you to make changes, take risks, and look for ways to break into new paths. In order to make this video practical, there's 4 different things that I've laid out. That way you can follow a step-by-step process. Of course, everybody has their own way of breaking in, and there's not one specific way to do so, but this is my experience, so I'm going to share how I did it. First thing you have to do is find the right company. In reality, both sides are taking a chance on each other. You don't know ultimately how long you're going to be working there when you first start. For me personally, I knew that I wanted to be here for many years, so I was going to try to find a way to make it work within sales and then find my way over to product when the chance came, and so that's what I'm going to talk about today. I believe one of the keys is to find a company that has a design team or just one designer with a ton of experience. That way you have somebody that you can learn from. For me, I was fortunate in the company I work at. There is somebody who's worked in the field for 15 years in UX and UI. He's worked at Disney and NBC. He's even won an Emmy for the Jimmy Fallon show. And he's been mentoring me and giving me feedback and critique. So I see that as something that I really got lucky on. I didn't plan it, but it's been working out really well for me. Now, when I started, they weren't looking to expand the team, but that's not really a big deal. The focus should be how are you going to do really well in the role that you're currently at, which was sales for me. And realistically, this is just my way of getting my foot in the door and gives me the advantage of not having to come off the street and compete against everybody else. Obviously, in the sales role, my goal was to impress my manager and impress my peers because I work with a ton of different people. Our company size is around 150 employees, 50 of which are coming from sales, and then there's about 50 on the research and development team, the product and engineering side. And it was important for me to show that I'm the kind of person that people like to work with and somebody that is easy to work with ultimately. And the second thing you want to do is begin to network internally. Before I start sharing about why networking is important, I want to start off by saying that timing is everything when it comes to networking. First off, it's my opinion that you should start to network with the people that are going to influence this design transition when you've established a name for yourself and people may recognize you around the building. They may not know you by name, but at least you've been there for a little time and you're not trying to jump ship. The other thing is, no matter who you're introducing yourself to, if it's a designer or it's the person that's going to eventually hire you, you should be prepared to show off work and take on a project if they give it to you, because this is your shot and this is your moment. So I waited when the time was right, I struck, but I definitely took my time in choosing when to tell people that realistically I want to become a UX UI designer. So that would be my first tip on approaching networking. And the truth is, you'll never know 100% when the right timing will be. You do have to take a bit of a chance. And when I introduced myself to the designer in-house, I had been working at the company for about a year, and my goal was really just to introduce myself and tell him what I've been working on and let him know that this is something I'm taking very seriously and this is my goal within the company. And then about a month later, I had an organic conversation come up with our co-founder, who happens to be our CTO, and I let him know that I'm going to school for UX design, and this is something that I've done as a hobby for quite some time, and the conversation went really well. He ended up sharing a book with me called Refactoring UI. It's essentially a survival guide or Bible for designing web interfaces. And this was my first way in, so to speak. The follow-up was to have a conversation with him about the book, and I wanted to share my thoughts on it, but I think for him, he just wanted to see if we saw design in the same way. So we did meet about a week later and the conversation went really well. I showed him some work that I had been working on in my design process, and he basically let me know that there was going to be some work that he had for me, and he said give him some time. So I waited patiently and continued onward, and that was essentially where it was left. I then told the designer that I had talked to originally about the conversation that I had had, and he let me know that he had a couple of projects that I could be working on in the meantime that were pretty straightforward, pretty simple projects. But this kind of leads me to the next point, which is to get your first design project, and let's talk about that. Now, the first design project that I got was for a banner that we had to design for a conference that we were attending. We were doing a happy hour, and this happy hour was being hosted at the MGM Grand, so there was going to be a ton of eyes on the happy hour banner, and so it was going to represent our company, and obviously I had to do a good job with it. So it was a big deal for me. I saw this as a really great opportunity to show how I work as far as my design process and show a little bit of skill I have with creativity. And I felt like it went really well. I got to work alongside with the designer, and he gave me feedback throughout the process, which was really helpful. And ultimately, we got the project done within about a week. There wasn't much time to work on the project, and I felt like it went really well. And then after that, I actually got a second banner to work on for a golf tournament that we were co-sponsoring. And this was very similar to the other project that I worked on in that I didn't have a lot of time to put it out, and I had to be very quick with my iterations, and I got to work alongside him, and both of them went really well, and I felt like it was a good first step into cutting into the design within the company. And then it was about a month later that I heard back from my co-founder, and he basically had a project for me to do some design research around some functionality that we were thinking about building, and we hadn't done anything up until this point. So essentially he wanted me to do this research and then start to begin to think of ideas of some mock-ups and prototypes that I could be working on, and then maybe present them. And that's basically all I knew at that point. After about 3 weeks or so, my CEO, who's also a co-founder, he let me know that he had heard from the co-founder that I had been working on it, obviously the CTO that is, and he said that they had a board meeting the following day, and he wanted me to work on some mock-ups for this functionality that he could present to the board. And this was my big project that I had, and this is the next and final step, which is to get a high-profile design project that you can get the eyes of stakeholders and the higher ups to see. So that's the next point. Now this takes both luck and timing, which you can't control, but you can control having the patience and working hard in the meantime to put yourself in that position. So as I mentioned, I did some research and found some interfaces that were doing the same or similar functionality. So I had some ideas as far as how I wanted to make it look. And because I only had a matter of 4 hours or so to design the thing and then present it to the co-founders, I found one that I really liked, designed it to look pretty similar, and put it within the design and look and feel of our app and our website, however you want to say it. It's a web app essentially. And I presented it to the co-founders, they loved it, and then after they presented it to the board the next day, my CTO came back and let me know how well it went and asked me if I wanted to go full time, which of course I said yes. And basically he let me know he's gonna make it happen, and within a couple of weeks it was done, and obviously I'm very excited. So it was a really crazy journey. It wasn't something that I really planned. It was something that I worked hard to get myself in the position of, but you can never really say 100% if this is going to be something that's going to work out. But I had full faith. I trusted in the people that I was working around, and fortunately I was also in a position where my sales side was just very supportive. They knew that I wanted to do this, and they had given me all the opportunity that I needed prior to joining the design team to work on the projects that I needed to work on so that I could even get in this position. So I was very lucky in that regard. And now I'm actually working on the same early functionality. I'm working on a separate project, but the idea is I get to work on early stage things that haven't launched yet and work alongside an engineer. As I design it, he builds it, and then we get to present it to stakeholders and then run with the project if it has some traction. So it's a really, really cool opportunity. The other thing is I was only the second hire on the design team, which is really exciting because I get to be a part of the early stage of watching this team grow, and I'm doing it alongside someone who has years and years of experience, which is going to be really helpful. So as we bring in more senior designers, I'll have more people to learn from. Now, I want to end this video with a challenge for you. First, think about the opportunity that you're in, the company that you're at. Is this the right place for you to make the move as far as trying to work from your current role into the design role? Now, you could obviously work at a company and then go somewhere else, which is what everyone for the most part does, but it puts you in a position where you're going to have to compete against more senior, potentially more talented designers. And so the idea for me was I got to find a company that I can get in and then have an advantage over the next guy, essentially. And they actually created the role specifically for me because I was there at the right time, essentially. So that's the first thing you got to be thinking about is, are you in the right company? Then you want to start to think about when is the right time to network with people internally. Obviously, who are those people in the first place? I never even approached the VP of product. I'm actually not working under him. I'm working directly under a co-founder. So sometimes it's not as obvious as it may seem. You may think that's the right person to go to, but in other worlds, there might be somebody else that sees you as a right fit for their project. And if you do well, the rest will fall into place. You have to believe that. I hope you enjoyed hearing my journey. I love to share hopefully something that's inspirational and motivate you to do something with your current position and take the chance and the risk of doing so. This actually was the second time that they created a role around me. My second sales role was a completely created role for me, and now they're going to be hiring someone and I'm going to be onboarding someone to do what I used to do, which is really cool. So make sure to take chances and tell people what you want to do. There's no reason not to. If you're in the right company, working with the people that are supportive and open-minded, you will find yourself in these kind of roles. I will be making more content around product design and some of the tools that I use, some of the concepts and process that I like to use for myself. So if there's any suggestions that you have, leave them in the comments section. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.